In psychology, there's a phenomenon so consistent it borders on predictable. The person who leaves one controlling relationship and finds themselves inside another within a year. Different name, different face, same invisible architecture. Most people call this bad luck. Some call it a pattern. Neither explanation goes deep enough. The unconscious doesn't choose people by their appearance or their words. It chooses by feeling, specifically by familiarity. And familiarity was established long before you had the awareness to choose anything deliberately. What you were raised inside, emotionally, became your internal definition of what a relationship feels like. Not what it should feel like, what it does feel like. The nervous system registers this as home, and home for many people was a complicated place. This is why the pattern doesn't respond to logic. You can list every red flag intellectually. You can know in full conscious detail that this person is unavailable or controlling or incapable of genuine intimacy, and still feel pulled, still find reasons, still wait for the version of them you sensed on day 3 to return. That pull isn't weakness. It's the nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do, moving toward what it recognizes as familiar and registering that familiarity as safety, even when the two have nothing to do with each other. The pattern isn't a character flaw. It's a very old navigation system running on very old maps. Jung called what happens next projection. The qualities you haven't fully claimed in yourself, the hunger for control, the fear of being left, the need for constant reassurance, the rage that never found a clean exit, you encounter them expressed in the people you're drawn to. The relationship becomes a kind of mirror. What disturbs you most about this person is often adjacent to what you haven't yet looked at in yourself. This isn't blame in any direction. It isn't a diagnosis. It's closer to a compass reading. The person who keeps choosing emotionally unavailable partners often hasn't fully grieved their own longing to be chosen. The person who keeps ending up with someone who needs to be rescued often hasn't looked honestly at what being needed gives them. The person who attracts control often hasn't yet examined where they relinquish it before anyone even asks. The dynamic persists because the dynamic is teaching something. It keeps repeating until the lesson lands somewhere deeper than the intellect. There's a particular cruelty to this realization, and also a particular freedom. The cruelty is that you cannot think your way out of it. Understanding the pattern cognitively changes almost nothing. You can read every book on attachment theory, recognize every manipulation tactic, build an entire vocabulary around what's happening, and still feel the pull. Still find yourself 3 months into the same dynamic with a different person's name. The freedom is this. The pattern is not permanent. It is not who you are. It is a set of learned responses that formed in a specific context, under specific conditions, with specific people, none of whom are present now. The responses outlasted the context. That's all. When the internal map changes, what registers as home changes with it. The question worth sitting with isn't, why do I keep attracting this? That question keeps the focus external. It keeps you studying the other person, their psychology, their damage, their tactics. The question that moves something is, what does this feel like when it starts, and why does that feeling seem like the right one? Because the beginning of the pattern is almost always the same. Something about this person feels electric, feels like recognition, feels like the possibility of finally being seen by exactly the type of person who never quite saw you before. That feeling is the signal, not the red flag list that comes later, the initial resonance. That resonance is the frequency match. Your unresolved emotional history calling out to its reflection. Changing the pattern doesn't require becoming a different person. It requires becoming more honestly familiar with who you already are. Specifically, the parts you've been hoping a relationship would resolve. The longing that feels like it needs to be met by someone else. The wound that feels like it needs to be witnessed by the person who created something similar. The part of you that still believes that if this particular type of person finally chooses you, something from a long time ago will be healed. It won't be. The healing happens in a different room entirely. And once it does, even partially, what you're drawn to shifts, not through willpower or better decision-making, through a genuine change in what feels like home. The same person keeps appearing until you no longer need what they represent. That's not a punishment. That's the psyche working exactly as it was designed, persistently, patiently, pointing at the same place until you're ready to look there. The faces change. The invitation doesn't. And at some point, the invitation stops feeling like an accusation and starts feeling like a doorway. What's on the other side of it is yours. It was always yours. It just required this particular path to find it.